We'll hear how an increase in COVID-19 cases is affecting EMS workers. And a local health professional breaks down the pros and cons of getting vaccinated.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Ambulance services in some areas are getting hit with a high number of coronavirus calls. Last fall, EMS crews saw a lot of calls for COVID. Then, as the vaccine was rolling out, the number dropped. But now, with the Delta variant spreading in the area, those calls are right back up. KOAM Zach Dodge has the story.
They're the people you see first on what could very well be the worst day of your life.
It's been kind of hectic.
And more people are seeing them because of COVID.
This is our second for the day, but they've both been out of county calls.
Mercy paramedic Rachel Cummings and her crew see more COVID calls than anything else right now. So putting on 2 masks, gowns, face shields,
and then obviously gloves over the gowns, so no airflow anywhere,
is a common practice, even in the summer heat.
Everything is just so warm and sweaty.
They've already had 2 COVID transports, and if their day is anything like they've been seeing, they're not done yet. That spreads all the way from here to Springfield.
They're working extra shifts. Many times their shifts are extended, and so it is definitely a stressful time.
Mercy EMS Director Bob Patterson is based in Springfield and says the numbers are so high, they had to request support from the state for help doing long-distance transports, something they've had to do more and more as hospitals fill up.
They run about 90. They've handled about 90 long-distance transports for us in the past 5 days.
In Crawford County, Kansas, the number of COVID calls haven't exploded to the same degree, but long-distance transports are also becoming more frequent.
The round trip on a Kansas City run is about 6 hours. That's 6 hours out of county.
Dr. Timothy Stebbins, director of Crawford County EMS, says that's exacerbating a pre-existing issue, a lack of staff.
So all of these communities are suffering with the same problem. You know, you have a set number of ambulances that you can run in a day. When you're taking an ambulance out of district for hours, it creates a challenge.
The short-term solution to all the problems? Vaccination.
If we didn't have the COVID pandemic, this is much less of an issue.
Everybody has their own reason to not get vaccinated, but a sore arm for 2 days is much better than burying your wife. It's not worth that.
Zach Dodge, KOAM News.
Dr. Stebbins says Crawford County EMS normally sees between 4,200 and 4,600 calls a year. He says this year they're on track to hit the high end of that range. The Carl Junction School District today hosted a back-to-school vaccine clinic. The clinic offered the required vaccinations for kids returning to schools, but also offered COVID-19 vaccines to students and to parents. We spoke with one parent who said she and her family are already fully vaccinated. When it came to her 17-year-old daughter, she left the choice to her.
They did a very good job in biology last year covering the vaccine, and she felt very informed, and after asking a few questions, she made the decision herself with our support that she go ahead and get the vaccine as well.
Tonight at 10, we're going to hear more on the importance of kids getting the vaccine and what Jasper County's current vaccine numbers for kids are. Successful Dreams, an organization in Parsons, Kansas that provides support services for people with intellectual disabilities, brought in a health expert to talk about the pros and cons of getting the COVID-19 vaccine. The expert, Debbie Thuston, a nurse from Neosho Memorial Hospital. Among the cons she talked about today, the risk of side effects, which she says are low and outweighed by the benefits. Those benefits include protection from the virus and its worst outcomes.
You are building up the antibodies in your system so that hopefully you'll be immune to the coronavirus so that you do not become affected or that you will not be a carrier and give it to somebody else.
Thuston also highlighted the importance of wearing a mask and increasing cases amid the increasing cases of the virus's Delta variant. Kansas Governor Laura Kelly says she's imposing a mask mandate for Kansas state government workers and visitors to state buildings. She says she's acting in the wake of what she called a self-inflicted surge in new COVID-19 cases.
Close to half of our population has refused to get a vaccine that is safe. It is effective against severe illness, hospitalization, and death, and it's absolutely free for the asking. Those low vaccine rates have allowed the twice as contagious Delta variant of COVID-19 to spread like wildfire across the country and now our state.
Governor Kelly's announcement came after a central Kansas school district mandated masks in its building, and public health officials in 2 of the state's most populous counties recommended that even vaccinated residents wear masks in at least some indoor public spaces. Kelly's order takes effect on Monday. Nick, Kelly, the stifling heat continues out there.
Not to mention the humidity too, Dal, which makes it more clear that even though it looks nice from 7th and Range Line, maybe a couple high clouds passing by behind our banner, it doesn't really reveal the fact that it's just hot and humid once again. That's why the excessive heat warnings for much of the area has been extended until 9 o'clock Friday evening. Even if you aren't, the heat advisories will continue at least until Friday evening. I think there's a chance some of that heat could linger into Saturday before more than welcome relief rolls on in. In the meantime, it is hot. No need for me to tell you that. Between 92 and 95 across much of the region. That's the air temperature, but the humidity makes it feel like we're either at 98 in Monette or 106 over in Pittsburgh. We are going to get a little reprieve from the heat this evening, but we'll be still near 80 by midnight, down to the mid-70s to start our Friday morning out, Dow. A few more days to be patient, but our patience will be rewarded. Forecast in a bit.
See you then. Still ahead, the Missouri Attorney General closes the investigation into alleged sunshine law violations in the Joplin City Council. And the Missouri Humane Society rescues nearly 24 dogs from what they're calling an appalling situation. The Missouri Attorney General's office says it's closed its investigation into sunshine violations in the Joplin City Council. The AG says they did not find any violations of sunshine laws. The investigation came following resident complaints about council members gathering in City Hall's dining room before meetings. The AG's office says they did provide guidance to the city regarding the complaints. The Humane Society of Missouri says its Animal Cruelty Task Force has rescued 21 dogs in Mcdonald County living in a, quote, appalling situation. The Missouri Department of Agriculture issued a court order to inspect the property of a licensed breeder. The society claims the dogs were in extremely poor health and that there was evidence others had recently died. They say most of the dogs had no access to water. They had to amputate the leg of one. On a scale of 1 to 10 for body condition, only one dog scored higher than a 2. Humane Society of Missouri President Kathy Warnick says, quote, these dogs have been living in horrific conditions. The breeder's neglect is inhumane and utterly reprehensible. The Missouri Highway Patrol says a Texas woman died on the Elk River north of Noel, Missouri. The Highway Patrol says Maria Reyes was in a boat that hit a tree and capsized. Reyes was trapped under the boat and drowned. The Highway Patrol says a Commerce, Oklahoma man died in the same general area of the Elk River when he went into deep water. Authorities say Joel Pasquale was unable to swim back and he died at the scene. The Oklahoma Highway Patrol says a person died on a crash on 488 Road in Delaware County. They're not yet releasing the victim's name. The patrol says the driver left the road at a high speed and hit a tree. The victim died at the scene. Later, a potential Democratic contender for Senator Roy Blunt's seat in Missouri announces whether he'll enter the race.
But first, we'll have to hold on to the heat and humidity for a few more days, then welcome relief will roll in. Full forecast up next. Don't need me to tell you we kept things hot and humid once again, but if you somehow don't believe me, the numbers will certainly tell the tale. We hit the mid-90s again yesterday, hitting about 95, 96. But as we advertised, just a brief reprieve from the heat during the overnight and start this morning out, but 73, 75 degrees, that's as much of a cool down as we could muster this morning before we went right back into the mid-90s this afternoon. So it was a day where, while it did not feel nice to be out and about, certainly looked nice with not a lot to track in terms of cloud cover or even rain chances on the Skywatch Storm Tracker. The main story in terms of weather continues to be the heat and the humidity. That's why we have extended now the excessive heat warnings for much of the region until 9 o'clock Friday evening. There is a chance that some of these excessive heat warnings in northeast Oklahoma will expire by 8 or 9 o'clock tonight, but in general, we're going to see the heat and humidity stick with us until at least Saturday. Then we're going to see more of the welcome changes roll on in. In the meantime, 7th and Range Line, a little cloud cover passing by, sure, but hardly a threatening sky. Again, looks nice, but hot and humid. 94 in Joplin feels like 102 with that dew point sitting right around 72 degrees. We're at 95, the air temperature in Chanute, 94 in Fort Scott, Stockton Lake, Nevada, and then some more lower 90s, at least one of the cooler spots, if you want to call them cooler, around the Table Rock Lake. But the humidity, once you factor in these dew points ranging from 70 to about 78 degrees, it just feels miserable out there once again. 103 is what it feels like in Neodesha, 106 in Pittsburgh, maybe 98 in Milnet, but everyone's hot and humid this evening. But once we get past sunset, the numbers will drop. 80 by midnight, down to the mid 70s as we get your Friday morning underway. Again, I don't have much to track otherwise. We're sitting quiet at the very least, while our next frontal boundary is actually causing some severe weather in parts of the mid-Atlantic and going into the northeast. This front stays just north of us tomorrow, so we're going to keep things dry once again. But once this upper ridge breaks down as we head into Saturday, that's when that front rolls in with some thunderstorm chances, but more importantly, that much needed break from the heat. Until it gets here, though, we'll stay very warm and humid for this evening and drop it back eventually into the mid-70s for your Friday morning. We'll start out right around 75 degrees, a light south breeze at 5 miles per hour. And at times, just like today, some passing cloud cover here or there. Stays quiet, though, but stays hot and humid. 92 at lunchtime and topping out around 96 for an afternoon high. But again, that's just the air temperatures. You factor in the high dew points, which will still be around tomorrow. It could feel like 102 to almost 110 in many locations. These numbers want to try and stick with us for Saturday, but that's when the changes start to roll in. Note the position of the upper ridge on Saturday starts shifting west. That's finally going to allow the cold front to bring in some thunderstorm chances, mainly Saturday night going into Sunday morning. Then once that sweeps through, we look dry for Monday. Maybe a few weak waves along the cooler side of the jet might bring a stray shower or storm by the middle of next week, but we are going to really appreciate the drop in temperatures coming our way. But 96 tomorrow, 95 on Saturday, hot and humid. That's why those alert days are up. But then after those rain chances, Dow 86 for a high on Sunday, lows back in the mid 60s and highs wanting to say in the mid 80s through much of next week.
Lows in the mid 60s.
That's going to be an Arctic blast by that point.
It'll be great. Thanks, Nick. Hey, a man taking a walk across America crosses through Joplin. Bo Carter started his 100 hikes across America after he was inspired by an act of charity from a little girl he met on the road as a truck driver. He's stopping in Joplin because the Harmony House in Springfield said he should seek out hope along his hike.
I really hope it brings together, people on the matters of hope, and just how the people of Joplin have inspired so many people, not just to survive destruction and come out of that bigger and better.
Today he hiked the path of the Joplin tornado. You can follow along with his journey on Facebook. You can find a link to that page in this story on our website. That's KOAMnewsnow.com. Still ahead, Kansas City residents react to the mayor's announcement that he'll reinstate the city's mask mandate. Former Missouri Governor Jay Nixon will not run for the U.S. Senate in 2022. Nixon said in a statement that he believes he will be more effective outside of this partisan back and forth, his words. Nixon served as governor from 2009 to 2017. Before that, he served 4 terms as Missouri Attorney General. The current field of Democratic candidates includes people with less name recognition than the announced Republican candidates. Incumbent Republican Roy Blunt announced in March that he would not seek a 3rd term. Kansas City Mayor Quinton Lucas announces he's reinstating a mask mandate, and now neighboring cities and counties could follow suit.
The past few months have been a welcome sight for barista Emma Copeland compared to the height of the pandemic and mandates.
Being able to connect with people or hear them is really hard with a mask and a shield, and it was getting a lot better and people seemed a lot more happy.
Emma says it's disappointing but understandable that Kansas City Mayor Quinton Lucas decided to reinstate mask mandates at public indoor places. The mandate begins on Monday and applies to people 5 and up, regardless of vaccination status. Mayor Quinton Lucas says the latest COVID-19 data showing a rise in cases prompted his decision. For people like Victoria Williams, mandate or not, she's been masking during the pandemic.
My mother's immunocompromised, same with my brother. I'm doing it to be precautious for them.
This week, the CDC recommended fully vaccinated people in parts of the country with, quote, substantial or high transmission wear a face mask indoors. Kansas and Missouri are 2 of 21 high transmission states.
It is a setback, and it's one that we're going to try to make sure we fix.
Across the county, we have seen almost exclusively the Delta variant over the month of July. So we know that there is quite a big concern when it comes to our public health.
The Core 4, Kansas City, Jackson, Johnson, and Wyandotte counties met this morning to discuss the possibility of a broad guidance, but didn't come to a decision. Wyandotte County will take the matter up Thursday evening during a special session. The Board of Commission will hear from the Health Department and its recommendation. The board will take that under consideration and decide on any action to reinstate mandates.
I think it makes sense, seeing how we're seeing cases rise as they are. I think it's better safe than sorry than anything.
Johnson County's Health Department Director Dr. Sammy Areola supports the CDC's recommended guidance changes. He says the action we take in the next 2 to 3 months will be crucial.
I think that there's no problem with taking safety precautions. I understand there's kind of we have to go through this again. But at the same time, I'd rather to be, having an inconvenience for a few more months.
Final check on the weather is next. Take time now to honor a local veteran. Joseph Gracie served in the U.S. Navy. His hometown, Girard, Kansas, and we are proud to salute Joseph Gracie. He's tonight's four-state hero. You can learn about hundreds of other heroes from all across the area. You really should check them out. Our database has many of them, and you can look them up by last name or hometown. It's very simple. You just click on the link on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. Jordan Abe joins us now with a look at what's coming up tonight on KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14.
Tonight at 9, roughly 3.6 million people in the country say they face eviction in the next 2 months. This as the federal eviction moratorium is set to expire Saturday. Also, Vice President Kamala Harris releases a new report outlining the strategy to address the migrant surge along the southern border. And more protests against COVID-19 vaccine mandates. Going to visit Arizona, where nurses there are among the protesters. That, of course, much more coming our way tonight. KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14.
Thanks, Jordan. Hey, look at this. New addition at the Tulsa, Oklahoma Zoo. This female Malayan tiger cub. She was born earlier this month, but zoo officials waited until today, International Tiger Day, to make the announcement. Malayan tigers are the national animal of Malaysia, but there are fewer than 250 in the wild due to threats such as habitat loss and poaching. This cub is the 6th Malayan tiger cub to be born at the Tulsa Zoo, and she is a cutie, no doubt. International Tiger Day. Who knew there was such a thing? Huh? It's hotter than a jungle out there.
Certainly is. We have to hold on to that for a few more days before relief comes our way by this weekend. But 96 tomorrow, 95 on Saturday. The high humidity sticks around 2. But after storms Sunday morning, down behind the front, back into the mid-80s, and it's going to be welcoming to see those numbers return.
You bet. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you right back here for KOAM News at 10. Let's make it a great evening.